I mean, the comments on Ohtani are unbelievable. Let's start with Rob. Ohtani's translator was on pace to be the GOAT of bad gambling.
Not bad. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This story comes right on the heels of the NFL mess with the vice president of finance of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who was a gambling addict and stole $22 million from the NFL club.
Yeah.
And when this story first broke about Patel, the vice president, I said, how the hell did nobody not know about this within the Jacksonville organization?
Yeah.
And then how did this not know anybody? Nobody had no knowledge. This guy was filtering money from Ohtani's accounts. And again, we don't know the rest of the story in terms of Ohtani would give him his passwords and access to his private accounts.
Wow.
So there's more to come on the story for sure.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton more. Here's one from Dodger Baseball. Says, would Bauer be a bigger distraction than Ohtani gambling gate?
Well, Bauer, I don't know. We've talked about this recently. Bauer just signed a deal to pitch for Mexico, a touring Mexican team. He's going to pitch 5 games.
Good.
And he's being scouted. And actually, they're playing. What was it? They're playing in New York, or they're playing in L.A. But scouts have not shown up to watch him throw. So he's still on the outside. It may well be that he's going to use this to actually sign a summer-long contract to probably play in the Mexican League, because doesn't seem to have any offers and doesn't seem to have any interest. And the last time he pitched in an exhibition game, there was not one major league scout there to watch him pitch.
The dude is blackballed, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so many teams need pitching. Moving on. All right, let's go here to John. And he says, baseball banned shoeless Joe Jackson, banned Pete Rose, but all sports have their hands out to accept gambling revenue. What the heck did the powers that be think was going to happen?
Yeah. The other thing that turns me off, and I'm sorry, I'm old school. Maybe I'm purist. Maybe I'm stupid. Do you ever watch on the ESPN broadcast now? During the course of the play-by-play, they start talking about the odds that this might happen or this did happen. Or do you ever watch that?
Oh, yeah. And even in the score bug, they show like the percentage or the probability they're going to win the game.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So in the 4th inning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you're pandering to gambling addicts.
Oh, 100%, And so they got to find a way to make these two be simpatico, because right now they're screwing it up.
I'll really be intrigued to see what kind of decision they make as to Ohtani's involvement with his personal aid, and whether the aid took the money out of the accounts and transferred it to pay off the gambling debts, or whether Ohtani did him a favor and Ohtani did it.
Hey, let's move on here. We got Dave. He says, I love the Padres getting a hard-on about this. Settle down, clowns. Nothing's going to happen to the face of the league. When's the parade for beating the Dodgers today?
Oh. Last I checked, dude, it's only March. A lot of games to be played, but how should I say this without offending half the world? It's early in the season. I'm concerned about Darvish. I'm concerned about Musgrove, because if they can't be you and can't be Java Joe, this is not going to be the same pitching staff. And they did have one really good game at home plate versus a bullpen day, but the Stars were 0 for 14 in the first game. So let's not order World Series tickets yet, Dave.
You Dodger fans just love popping off. And yeah, I mean, when the Padres, when was it? Was it when they beat him in 2020? I think it was the COVID year, or did they play?
No, 2022.
In the 2022, they
beat him in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think in 2020, when they made the playoffs in the COVID year, there was a kind of a fan ruckus out on the gas lamp, right? That they made the playoffs. So the Dodgers love to poke. But, there's a lot to poke back on the Dodgers right now.
Okay, that's from Padre fan, ex-Giant fan who got exiled out of San Francisco. Next topic.
Okay, here we go. This is from Bruce. It says, where are Hacksaw's glasses on rattled? I'm rattled that they're not on his head.
They're right here. Courtesy of North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido.
There you go. All right, here we go. Kevin said, Snell is still not on a team, LOL. His head is too big and wants too much. But he's on a team.
Well, he's on a team. He just signed with San Francisco, and he'll go to the front of the rotation with Logan Webb. They've got 3 other really young arms. They don't have any depth whatsoever. They tried really hard to get players to come there, and most guys didn't want to go. Now, they did all these opt-outs, which I tend to think is really bad business. As I detailed to John didn't take notes. That means he's ignoring what I'm saying. But as I detailed that they have to give up $4 million in a tax payment in addition to the $31 million he gets the first year. And they have to forfeit second and third round draft picks and have to forfeit $1 million signing international money. That's a lot of money out the door, with the risk that Snell could walk a year from now and next spring training be in somebody else's camp. I just wouldn't do business that way.
Well, I think about it from Snell's perspective, because he is a bit of a head case. So how is he handling this? I mean, he's clearly been pushed to the side. He had to settle for a deal that was a lot less. People are questioning if he's really that good. I mean, he's got to prove it to a lot of different people. And if this season doesn't go well for him, it could be trouble.
Yeah, if his ERA is 7.32 and we get to May 15th, there might be some howling there about that. But that being said, let's not negate what he did in Tampa, and let's not turn our back to how phenomenal he was. 1.20 ERA from May 1st to the end of the season with the Padres? I mean, that's dynamite pitching.
It is. But I'll tell you what, Giants fans aren't necessarily, having a parade, down Market Street, because my buddy up there, he said of all the big name free agents, Snell was the one he was least interested in. And I get it. I understand.
Erratic.
Yeah, he is.
We carry on.
Oh, carrying on. Okay, I think you already commented on this, but this is a good topic anyways. Tim says, thoughts on Musgrove's performance and health status? Yes, it's essentially still spring training, but he didn't seem to look right today.
Well, I don't think he's looked right at all. He had, 2 or 3 bad outings. He had one decent outing, and then he kind of got banged around today. Couldn't locate his pitches. It's just a process to come back from a shoulder issue. Now, granted, he didn't have surgery, but he obviously had deterioration in the shoulder capsule. Those are serious injuries. So let's just be patient with him and let him build, and hopefully he gets back. And I was kind of disappointed in Darvish. He just could not locate hardly any of his pitches in the first start on Wednesday. It's early. It's only 2 games into the season. We'll just see and trek as they go. And, now we're going to look forward to see what they're going to get from Dylan Cease in the number 3 slot. And Michael King was pretty competitive outside of the home run ball he threw today. Boy, he's fierce. You see, he was so pissed on the mound.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He was gnashing his teeth, and then we'll see what happens with Johnny Brito or Vasquez or the insurance policy. But, if we can get you and Joe back to what you and Joe were, and now you add these guys and you're 9 deep in the bullpen, I think you got yourself a pretty good pitching staff. But, Darvish isn't back yet, and Musgrove looks farther behind Darvish.
Yeah, overall, I'm encouraged. I mean, I think what we saw, especially with Cronenworth, saw with Jackson Merrill, there's a lot to like here. Musgrove and Darvish, they'll be fine. They're just going to have to build up.
You just keep cheerleading from left field.
Well, I'm like one of those Korean cheerleaders on top of the dugout yelling around.
Move on.
Okay, moving on. Let's go here to Kevin. I served in the military in South Korea. They are great people.
They really are. I was so amazed that we did our segment. I was talking about the ambiance of the game. I was so amazed at how polite they were. I mean, you compare that to Padre Dodger games at Petco Park, LA sucks, or anything related to the Philadelphia Phillies at Citizens Bank Ballpark. It's such a different environment. They enjoyed it. I mean, it's great. Baseball will go back there. I could see them further expanding. And so I think it was a great experience. Tough experience to travel. Those players, after traveling there, we did the itinerary, how bad it is to get there. And now traveling all the way back on a 14, 16-hour flight coming home. And then you got to finish up the Cactus League schedule and then open the season. So the wear and tear factor, I mean, I don't do jet lag well. I don't think I could do that jet lag ever.
Well, Tatis was saying his legs were barking, and Machado was looking forward to going home and sleeping in his own bed. So it's got to be rough. But, you got to love, like you say, the politeness of the Koreans, and it's obviously a generalization, but you bring the sport to new cultures and new people. Not only are you introducing them to baseball, well, they know about baseball, but you're introducing more to the American stars. But on the same token, American baseball fans are being introduced to cultures around the world. And I think that's ultimately a good thing, as far as people getting along.
Growing the sport and the understanding. Look at how many Pacific Rim Asian American players are on Major League rosters now.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of talent. I mean, if you thought the bidding war for Yoshi Yamamoto was something, what do you see next year when Sasaki, the young pitching sensation, the high school kid, is coming? Because he's coming. He's not going into the Nippon draft.
No. But you know what? This is happening everywhere, and all sports are expanding internationally. So this is all good.
I know you're just waiting for roller derby to go Argentina. Okay, move on.
All right. Well, this is a funny comment here from Junior. Known Yakuza member Shohei Ohtani. Like he's in the mafia in Japan.
Oh, I'll tell you, I'm
No comment, maybe?
I'm waiting for the depths of the story to come out because there's a lot more story too. We're going to have to learn. And then, I mean, if Ohtani is implicated that he knew and he did this nonetheless, then there's got to be some discipline action against Ohtani if he's paying off somebody else's gambling debts, whether it's his best friend or not.
Well, yeah, I'm not so worried. If he's helping out his friend that got into trouble, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think it's fine.
It's gambling.
But it's Ohtani is not gambling. He's not gambling on baseball. He's not gambling on, the games he plays in.
He's giving money to a gambler who's betting on sporting events.
Right. He should have written a check to the translator, and the translator wrote the check to them. He should have covered himself, but this is just a nut story.
Okay.
Let's move on. All right, here. This is an interesting question from Roberto, and he says, can the Padres lineup perform with Cronenworth batting third going forward?
Well, based on Thursday's game, John's already voted that in. Yes. My reality is, pal, it's only 2 games, and he was hitless in the first game and struck out twice and had the equipment malfunction at first base. So I'm not ready to order World Series tickets yet because you want a slugfest and bullpen day against the Dodgers. But let's see if, the one thing I noticed today, Jake is spraying the ball. He's driving in different places because I tend to think recently, in the last year or so, and he's had 2 substandard seasons in a row, it was like he's trying to play the power game, he's trying to pull a lot of stuff. And when Jake first came up, he was just putting the ball in play, and that's why he hit 280.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if he's made some adjustments, if he's learned, because I think the scouting reports have learned about him.
Well, if he can make it work, the number 3 spot in the order is perfect, because he's, you got the lefty righty thing going on in the lineup, and then you got Machado behind you to protect you, so if he just can do okay, I think it'll be a really productive move.
Okay. Anybody out there got opinions on March Madness? Anybody wants to talk NFL free agency? We'll talk about this tragic story in the National Hockey League. John, go ahead.
Okay. Let's talk March Madness here. Can San Diego State make another run?
I think they pound UAB. UAB doesn't play much defense. UAB has no size whatsoever. But then they get to play Bruce Pearl. They get to play Auburn. Auburn's got firepower. They got a former Aztec. Auburn beat some pretty good people during the season in the Southeastern Conference. And the fact that there's kryptonite on the floor, which impales Jaden Ledee, because his guards have to score. They have to hit threes. They have to make a difference offensively. And more times than not, the second half of the schedule, those guards did not show up.
They didn't. No, it was a real tragedy. Can they make another run? I say they can. I mean, because they should beat UAB. If they play their game, they should take care of Auburn. Then you get to Sweet 16, the number 1 overall seed.
UConn.
But they did that last year, and they beat Alabama. So why not again? I mean, why not?
Well, to get out of the bracket, they got to go through UConn.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well, they beat Alabama last year. They can beat UConn. I mean, granted, it's going to be a stretch. It's going to be a reach. But can they go on another run as a 5 seed? Absolutely, they can.
Yeah, don't think so.
It's March Madness.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's
You're
move
just
on.
Big Duquesne fan.
Yeah, the
all.
Duquesnes are good. Here's back to Joey. Hey, is there any way that the Washington Commanders, New England Patriots, or Arizona Cardinals trade that pick so the Raiders can trade up and get Jaden Daniels?
Well, Arizona's shopping the pick. It really looks right now, obviously, Chicago is going to take Caleb Williams. Bear people were at Pro Day at USC yesterday. Washington has worked out Drake May from North Carolina, and despite what some of the critics are saying, I think they're going to take him. So now the question is, what does New England do at 3? I mean, is it Jaden Daniels? Or is he a bit of a project, bit of a gamble? He was a one-man show at LSU and before that at Arizona State. His statistics are phenomenal, but there have been a lot of quarterbacks in the league who've been good statistically that don't do all the other things intellectually you need to get done. So I'll be fascinated. But Arizona said this morning that they've got at least 4 or 5 trade offers from teams that want to jump up. But the Raiders are drafting 11, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
To go from 11 to 3 or 11 to 4, you got to overpay. And do the Raiders want to give up this year's number 1 and next year's number 1, or this year's number 1 and a 2 and next year's 2? I mean, the price to make that big a jump, if you're going from 6 to 4, that's a different price tag than going from 11 up.
Well, their current quarterback was Aiden O'Connell, right?
Right, from Purdue, rookie.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on him?
Managed games, he was okay, but he didn't scare the hell out of anybody that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn around and they make this deal to get this next quarterback coming in the front door. Who knows if that's going to work? And it kind of goes against the grain of what they said a month ago is we don't want a Band-Aid approach at quarterback. We want a quarterback for the future. And it leads me to believe maybe they'll try to make a trade. But, what do they got personnel-wise they could afford to trade that you'd be willing to give up in addition to your number one pick? That's the only way you can, if you have to go from 11 to 3, you have to give something else that's significant. What is that significance? I don't think they got a lot of significance on defense outside of Mad Max. You're not going to trade Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
The running back's gone. It's interesting because I don't know that they've got enough assets and resources to actually do a significant jump up. Now, maybe this is all smoke. You're not supposed to smoke inside, but maybe this is all smoke in the draft room. And maybe they're really zeroing in on Bo Nix or zeroing in. I was told that they really like Michael Penix from Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then J.J. McCarthy is still in play too. And I don't know if they're linked with McCarthy or not. We don't know because everybody's going to do individual workouts with the Michigan quarterback. So we'll get a much better understanding. I'd say within 2 weeks, we're going to know how the dominoes are going to fall.
Well, I think the Raiders shouldn't trade up. I think they should keep their picks. Penix would be interesting, but he's injury prone, especially when he's at Indiana. So I don't know if that's going to work. Bo Nix, maybe, so we'll see.
I mean, Bo Nix put up phenomenal stats. He's more of a systems quarterback, but you can win with a systems quarterback. Brock Purdy's kind of shown that.
Right. Oh, and so did Jimmy G a few years ago.
Yeah. Before he got dinged up.
Okay, moving on. Let's go here to Chris, and this is funny, I think. And for the next couple of hours, I want to drink a beer in my bathrobe and have a hot dog with you. It's 3 a.m. Let's go to the ladies' line.
My goodness. I mean, it was weird. I was sitting there as they were just starting the game on Wednesday, and I like the ambiance of ballparks and games and the smell and just the vibe. And I just thought to myself, damn, I wish I had a beer and a dog right now. And it was 3:00 in the morning. I think my wife was going to come downstairs and want to cook for me. But
yeah, it's an interesting time. And my wife thought I was crazy for waking up in the middle of the night to do it, but it's like a memorable event.
That's right.
But that was a weird stadium because there was no like stands in the outfield, were there?
No.
So it was like a short porch or
like
something.
An erector set stadium.
Well, it was. Yeah, it was kind of odd that way. But, I saw a lot of Padre gear in the stands, but you're right. It was leaning more towards the Dodgers.
Everybody's got $500 in their pocket to buy a Dodger jacket because everybody was wearing Dodger gear. And there's no doubt. I mean, the Dodgers historically, they were one of the first ones to do it. Bring them from Japan, do it. Bring them from Korea, do it. Bring them from Taiwan. I mean, those guys who came to the Dodgers, starting with Nomo and Chan-Ho Park, those guys are revered back in their home country.
Oh, they are. That's very clear. I just love it all. So the Padres and Dodgers are coming home. And then when do we start up again?
Well, they got the Mariners for 3 games at Petco Park. The Padres do. Dodgers come home and they'll play a freeway series with the Angels. And then does baseball start the 28th?
Something like that.
Yeah. It's next Thursday, a week from today, I think.
Wow. Isn't it ridiculous that the Mariners or the Padres rival? I mean, it's stupid. I mean, who else would you pick? I don't know. Okay, let's move on here. Let's go to Steve. He says, Hacksaw, what's up with hockey in SoCal? Looks like another postseason bust.
Well, the Kings have got goal scorers. Are those guys all going to score simultaneously? The most important time of the year, the playoffs? We'll see. Kings are not as strong in goal, and that's a big, big issue. They just got to keep their guys healthy. This Ducks situation's terrible. Losing streak is now at 7 in a row. They're going to wind up with either the first or second pick, probably in the NHL lottery. They've been beset by injuries. Trevor Zegras has been out with his broken ankle forever. He's just started full-time skating, so maybe in a week he'll be back. But their season's lost, and they've had so many injuries. In my heart, because I'm a hockey guy, in my heart, I think the Ducks, we're all going to wake up one of these years, and they're going to have all these good kids who are going to grow together, and they're going to be okay. But geez, from getting point A to that point B, seems like forever. And just when you think they're stockpiling these layers of high draft picks who can play at the NHL level, they all get hurt. It's just bad luck.
Bad luck. Yeah, it sounds that way. I mean, when was the last time the Ducks were in the playoffs?
9 years ago.
9.
And they had the nice Stanley Cup run.
Yeah, they did.
With Trevor Solani and the Niedermeyer brothers came and they traded and they made all these bold moves. And the team got old and the team got salary cap issues. And then they missed on a whole pile of picks right at coming off the Stanley Cup year. So I'm hoping they flip it and turn the corner, but that's easier said than done. And it's not going to happen 2 weeks from tomorrow. I guarantee you that.
Hey, let's go back here. They got some more NFL for the Chargers. Hey, so do you think Justin Herbert can be successful with no wide receivers.
Well, they're going to run the ball first, which leads me to believe, although there are people doing mock drafts with the opinion they're going to take an LSU wide receiver, Neighbors, with the first pick. I don't think they're going to get access to Marvin Harrison, but I think because they spent the money they did on Gus Edwards from Baltimore, they got a new center who is a starting center in Carolina to fix the offensive line, and where they're drafting at 5, they're going to get their choice of the best offensive lineman. Now, could they trade back? Could they go from 5 down to 10? Maybe even the Raider pick? You can deal with the Raiders. But, that's a gamble, because if the kid from Penn State and the kid from Notre Dame are the top 2 tackles, and they're going to be dominant players, you don't want to trade too far out of the 5th slot, because you might not get either one of them. So I tend to think that they're going to take a tackle. I think you can go get speed receivers anywhere in the first group of rounds, but you can't get a stud who's going to come in and play 10 years for you at left tackle or right tackle. So as we sit here today, unless something radical happens in terms of a crazy trade offer, I think they take an offensive lineman, which means they run the ball, and then they'll develop receivers. You can go get receivers in the 2nd and 3rd round. You can still do it in free agency too.
Well, who are the receivers that are left now?
In free agency?
No, on the roster. I mean, you got the kid from TCU, Quentin Johnston.
Right.
Who else?
Josh Palmer.
Palmer's still
pretty good player. Jalen Guyton is coming off the knee injury, played spurts, played okay. That's not enough.
No, and then the tight end they got is more of a blocking tight end,
but
right?
He can catch passes. Dixieline came from Seattle. So there's still guys out there to go get, and you can also address it in the 2nd and 3rd and 4th round of the draft. You can go find Darius Davis, the kick return guy, is going to be a slot receiver this year.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting.
So there we are. Okay, a couple more here before I go to social media.
Okay. Just the comments of some of these people. Pete Rose deserved a suspension for his bowl cut. A grown man. Everyone's got an opinion. Let's go to social media. We'll get some good comments in here. All right, let's go Dodgers. And this is from William. And he says, how about the D2? So bad. Betts had to move to shortstop just to hide Muncy at second base. I think he meant Lux. Arizona going to run all over this slow bunch.
Oh, we're going to do our baseball preview next week. I'm sure there'll be some people who won't be real happy with me when we preview the American and National League races. Dodgers got problems. They got infield problems. Max Muncy is not Justin Turner. And I thought Turner was a really competitive guy at third base. But Max looked lost. I mean, he just wasn't reacting. He wasn't getting to balls. He wasn't getting down for balls. And yet there were 4 balls that got by him today that triggered Padre rallies, and then you got Lux, and he's an experience now trying to throw from second base to first base. Thank goodness Freddie Freeman's 6'5" because he's doing this and balls bouncing in front of him. So there's something psyche about Lux, and he's got the case of the yips. And he says, it's not. Well, I saw you throws from shortstop. He made 3 errors and threw 4 of the balls in the dirt in the first half of the exhibition schedule. So they got defensive problems. And all you needed to know is to see the sneer on the face of Dave Roberts in the dugout.
He was pissed.
When Muncy never got to a ball he should have had.
Yeah.
So they got work to do.
That was the one that went over the bag, right?
Yeah.
But the good news, if you want to look at it from a good news perspective, for the Padres, is they were smoking the ball and hit it really hard at Muncy. But how old is Muncy? He's up there, right?
34, 36.
Yeah.
But he still hits, still got power, but
he hits like 220.
Yeah. Last year they hit him at second base and they hit him at first a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So next question.
All right, let's talk a little Raiders here from 4XRLA. And he says, Lee is being too hard on the Raiders. Running backs are expendable, and Renfroe was a non-factor on offense. Getsy's going to be a big disappointment as OC. Lee's eyes are watering from reading the fine print on his transaction tracking sheet.
Well, I'll tell you what, 199 free agents. My eyes are about to fall out of my head reading all this roster information about these players. And I mean, I know most of these players and a little bit of their background, but that's an awful lot of guys to try to keep track of. I don't understand. They gave Renfroe all this money and then they lose him in the shuffle. They don't use him. They don't use him correctly. He's a really good slot receiver. He's feistiness and all that. And they just stopped throwing to him. And you can't tell me they got a zillion great wide receivers. Granted, Devontae Adams, and granted, they had the tight end Waller. Then Waller kept getting hurt and they finally got rid of him. But you paid him $11.5 million over the last 2 seasons. Why aren't you throwing the ball to the guy? I don't even understand why the Raiders do what the Raiders do.
Yeah, Renfroe was a hell of a player at Clemson. I remember him. And it's amazing that his NFL career hasn't been more special, but he does seem like that perfect slot receiver type of guy,
and
right?
He's tough. Just run that junk across the middle and take the blow and catch the ball. So he hasn't signed yet. I think he's going to take a huge pay cut, but that's a good receiver out there.
I agree. And let's move on here. Let's go talk a little Padres. And this is from Sean. It says, someone check on Lee. He actually complimented the Padres.
I'm complimentary when it needs to be complimentary, and I'll critique them when it needs to be critiqued. Please tell me next time you're going to hit us with something in the fans forum. Give me a specific of what you disagreed with. Just don't make a generic comment that bad dude, always down on the Padres. I mean, a year ago this time when I said they were going to win 98 games, you weren't down on them. And John and I on Monday, we were talking about who's going to finish. I got the Dodgers finishing first. I had the Padres finishing second. I got the Padres going 90-72. There's no negative spin to that, is there?
Well, I'll tell you what, people on social media sometimes dog you because they think that you're negative about everything.
Nah.
No, but what I see, and I saw this even before we did this podcast, you just take shots. I mean, and you're direct, and you do the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Here's the information. This is my opinion on the information.
Exactly. But the funny angle to this is that how the fans are all trying to read between the lines to figure out, are you really a Dodger fan? Maybe he's really a Padre fan. They're all, and they do that with all the announcers when they're on TV and on the radio.
Oh, bias. Everybody's got bias. I got a podcast. That's all I care about.
Okay,
let's do one more.
Okay, let's talk Chargers. This is from another one from Sean. He says, everything they did was necessary evil. Consider it cleanup for Telesco going in 2 years ago, signing everyone at market price. I hated to see Keenan go, but a 31-year-old wide receiver who has not played a full season for 2 years is not worth $18 million.
Well, at the end of the day, other two stars gave back money to help him with the cap. And we're not talking about taking a 50% pay cut. We're talking about, in Keenan Allen's case, taking a $4 million cut. Bosa gave up $4 million. Khalil Mack gave up $7 million. Why would you not do that to stay in a great situation? And you're going to Chicago, which will have a rookie quarterback. Granted, Caleb Williams looks like unbelievable talent. But Chicago hasn't won bleep in a long time, and it's cold and it's windy, and you left California where you're from. And I like Keenan Allen. He's a self-made man. He deserved everything he got, but that's the way the cap works. Somewhere down the road, when you're north of 31 years old or there are injuries, you got to give up some money to help the team get players. And if the two stars on defense could do it, why could the star on offense not do it?
Would you take a pay cut to help out the corporation you're working for?
Depends who the corporation was. I work for a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
Not in my lifetime. But at the end of the day, you have to evaluate the situation as it now stands. How much money you need? He's made a ton of money. I hate to see him. He's going to Chicago. Now, granted, they're going to have Caleb, and they got DJ Moore, who came from Carolina. They may have two 1,000-yard receivers lining up with Caleb Williams now in Chicago. But you can't throw the damn ball in December. It's so cold and windy and snowy. And why would you leave the sunshine? And I like Keenan Allen. A lot of respect. Self-made individual. Because he came from Cal with knee problems. And outside of taking some big hits when he got blown up and got hurt, spleen and all that, he's been a great player. I don't know if he's probably a Charger Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's an NFL Hall of Famer. But he's had a nice career.
Yeah, I don't critique him at all for, demanding the trade or refusing to give up money. A contract's a contract, man. This is his livelihood. I see you can't blame him for that. You can't expect that he should sacrifice. Now, Tom Brady did that, right? He took less money so he can get more stars around him. And he was obviously going for the legacy. There ain't no legacy if you're a Charger player the way they play. So take the money, man.
Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our Thursday podcast.